Welcome to Florida Climate Week. So happy to be here with you, sharing some really, really wonderful new work that I'm doing with my friend Alana Irwin. So I am Jessica Morgenthau. I am a podcast host for a podcast called Resilience Gone Wild, which is all about learning resilience from nature and being awed and inspired and connecting more with nature. And a big part of that is the life that we live and the resilience that we build ourselves and as community. And I am thrilled to be working with Alana on a possible partnership to create a podcast that brings light to the amazing work that the city of Boynton Beach has done and is continuing to do and has done for years. And Alana is going to tell you about it, to make the city stronger, to sustain the tough stuff that just keeps coming, and to live life really, really well. It's a work in progress. It always is. And we're going to hear some really great things that are happening. So welcome, Alana. Tell us about where you've come from, where this department has come from, and where you're headed.
Yeah, sure. I personally am a born and raised Floridian. Grew up in Southeast Florida. I've been here my whole life, and I've seen so many different tragedies come through. I've seen so many hurricanes, flood events, extreme heat, drought. I've experienced it all in the state of Florida, and really, that's a lot of what my role is. So my role is the Sustainability and Resiliency Administrator for the City of Boynton Beach. I am the team lead on climate resilience and adaptation mitigation measures, making sure that the city is actually looking at environmental sustainability, long-term hazard mitigation through the lens of that in its entire operations.
Fantastic. So just to put, a little context around it all, resilience is a big word. There's a lot of different types of resilience. I work with all different types, including, individual resilience, of the personal capability of being able to handle tough stuff that comes your way. We're going to talk about community resilience. You've got financial resilience. So you've got a reserve in the bank or for you or the city or our world to be able to handle unexpected costs, unexpected, blips in chaos and catastrophe. Um, there's operational resilience. Do things keep working if a storm hits? Do things keep working if you have some disaster happen to your home? Those kinds of things. So there's all these different types of resilience, and we are going to focus on community resilience now because this is about the community. So tell us a bit about what you're doing in community resilience and what some of the threats and vulnerabilities are. And I'll put up a chart when we're ready.
Community resilience is pretty much all of those things that you just said, but taken at the scale of the community. The city of Boynton Beach has about 82,000 residents as of the 2024 census. We're a pretty decently sized community. We're actually the third largest city in Palm Beach County. So we have to really make sure that our residents are prepared. And that's kind of what sustainability and resilience is, from a community perspective, is you're making sure that we are planning effectively for hazards, making sure that we have all of the things in place for disasters, and then trying to take that forward future thinking task of, okay, we know that things are probably going to be changing at some point. We might have stronger hurricanes, we might have more frequent flash flooding events, more intense tornadoes or more intense drought. So our job is to kind of create this crystal ball of possibilities that could happen and prepare our community for that. So if you want to go ahead and share the slide of what some of the threats are in Boynton Beach, that I can go ahead and talk about some of the things. Yep. So Boynton Beach, we completed our first vulnerability assessment in 2021 as part of the Coastal Resilience Partnership of Southeast Palm Beach County. It was a collaborative partnership with several other smaller municipalities in Southeast Palm Beach County, in addition with the county, to identify some of our climate threats. We were actually one of the first groups to be awarded a Resilient Florida Program grant to complete a statutorily compliant vulnerability assessment. So that's really exciting for us. And some of the things that we've actually identified are high wind, rainfall-induced flooding, harmful algal blooms, pest and disease. You see extreme heat and drought. They all kind of all go together. Wildfire, there actually have been a pretty significant amount of wildfires in the Everglades this summer. We are also looking at tidal flooding, shoreline recession, storm surge, and then flooding from below. A lot of people don't realize that we in Florida have a very shallow groundwater table below us. It's about between 6 and 10 feet. So if you get too much rain, you can actually flood from below. So that's something that we take into consideration. And then saltwater intrusion. Using too much water in the coastal areas can actually put strain on the aquifer and bring salt water into the what's a freshwater aquifer. So these are some of the threats that we identified in this vulnerability assessment, and has actually informed a lot of our decision making for how we move forward operationally as a community.
Awesome. Okay, great. Thank you. So we're going to talk about some stories of some initiatives that you have done, you're in the middle of, and might be coming around mitigating these threats, because these are like really concrete, basic parts of the operation and the safety of the community, of resilient, of Boynton Beach, the city of Boynton Beach, as well as let's make sure we include the fact that you don't live in a bubble, right? Like the city of Boynton Beach has its boundaries above, below, on the ocean, a little bit in the ocean, inland, but the reality is that those boundaries are meaningless when it comes to any sort of resilience or threats. They're artificial, and you're part of Palm Beach County, you're part of Florida, you're part of what goes on the coast, you're part of storms, what, all of it. Like, just forget that there's boundaries. And the community resilience is bigger than just city of Boynton Beach. So, and I know you've done quite a bit with work in partnership with other parts of Palm Beach, and that there's some networks that work really tightly together to build resilience across different areas of Palm Beach. So let's start in with some of the amazing initiatives, that maybe one that from the past, one from the present, one from the future. What do you got? What do you want to share with us?
Yeah, so I'll start. City of Boynton Beach has actually been working on sustainability and resiliency initiatives since 2008. So we were one of the first local governments in Southeast Florida to actually implement its own climate action plan in 2010. And we were one of the first to sign on to the Southeast Florida Regional Climate Change Compacts, taking their climate action pledge back in 2011 or 12 as well. So we've been working on this for almost 2 decades, and it's really been important to us to make sure that we're managing our risks effectively and planning for some of these unknowns in the near future. So we've worked on so many different projects for our water infrastructure. We operate our own water utilities plants. We actually serve about 112,000 customers across some of the smaller local governments and unincorporated Palm Beach County, in addition to the city of Boynton Beach. So having and ensuring that we have clean drinking water, a reliable water supply, and in the event of a hurricane, we cannot be down for very long. So resiliency has always been that kind of focal point of our operations, to make sure that we're meeting the demand, providing the water that we need to for our residents, and then holding ourselves environmentally responsible. So a lot of the projects, I would say, from the first for the first probably 10 or so years of having some sort of sustainability program, were rooted in that. And then our Office of Sustainability was actually founded in 2017, around the time that Palm Beach County founded their office. And we actually had a dedicated staff person to start working on some of these initiatives. So we worked on a lot of tree canopy work, trying to boost our tree canopy up to the recommended levels of 35%. We've done work on reducing plastic and waste minimization, a lot of educational campaigns to help improve our recycling rates. And we've just spent so much time making sure that our residents understand what it means to be sustainable and resilient. It's a lot of more than just, hey, let's get rid of plastic straws here. Like that, it's such a low priority item that we've made time to build our programs that allow residents to not only understand but participate too. So One of the programs I would say that's probably our most successful is our Energy Edge rebate program. And what that does is it encourages weatherization in the city. So we have this program that's funded through our Green Building and Sustainable Communities Fund, which comes from our permitting fees, that provides residents with up to $1,500 in rebates for various different energy efficiency upgrades. So right now we offer rebates for solar panels, high energy efficient HVAC systems, we water heaters that are energy efficient, insulation in their roofs, and even installing electric vehicle charging stations in their homes. So it's only eligible for residents in the city of Boynton Beach, but we've had this program since 2017 as well. And we average about $50,000 in rebates a year for residents. So right now, I know we're going to talk about future plans in a little bit, but one of the future plans for this program is to really reevaluate it. And, we haven't upped the rebates since 2017. So we're going to evaluate kind of market conditions, get recommendations on potentially other types of energy efficient equipment like weather strips or dishwashers or things that kind of merge that water conservation and energy efficiency to make sure that we're reaching all of our residents, not just homeowners, but also renters as well. So that's probably one of our most successful programs in the city to really bridge that gap of community resilience and community participation.
Awesome. So just off the top of your head, like what's one beautiful story that you kind of got emotional about of some initiative you did in the past that really made an impact? Maybe a resident came to you and said, this changed my life. This made life so much easier. This is giving me resilience for the future. Anything come to mind around any of these great initiatives?
Yeah, I think we just recently had an adaptation plan workshop. So that's one of the things that we are working on through a Resilient Florida program grant is to build a community-wide resilience adaptation plan. We're not sure on the name yet because we're still in the early stages, but I've kind of pushed towards calling it a playbook because of our roots to football here in Boynton Beach. So we're thinking about something like that. But when we have these community workshops and we're listening to the residents just talk about what they feel the priorities should be, I felt a sense of empowerment for these residents, having that platform to speak about how Boynton Beach used to be, how, things have changed from a heat and a flooding standpoint, actually listening to residents tell us what king tides do to their homes, listening to, how back when some of these original homes that were built in Boynton Beach 100 years ago did not have air conditioning because they didn't need it because of how breezy it is here. And now we're getting to a point where we can't even appreciate that anymore because of how hot our summers are. So just listening to these stories of how good things used to be and trying to build what used to be to what it can be and really encapsulating some of those Boynton Beach cultural like priorities, I think really got me inspired to build a plan that is Boynton Beach specific and what the residents want.
Oh, it's so beautiful. And you and I have talked about this a number of times before, and just the idea of honoring the traditions and the culture and not, throwing out the 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 residents that have been there for a long time. And it's a
Yeah.
very generational community with a lot of
Yeah.
generations that have stayed over time and that remember those days and remember
Yeah.
what life was like. So, that's such an important part of community resilience is honoring, um, honoring the traditions and the culture that exists already. I know that you're doing some initiatives that really focus on maintaining that, not just knocking everything down. And that's been part of the plan. Do you have anything that comes to mind around that?
Yeah, so one of the things that was an identity for Boynton Beach for many years is being an Arbor Day tree designated community. Um, we have a lot of areas that are rich in tree canopy, while some areas don't. So one of the things that we're trying to encapsulate in that is just really making sure that when we work on some of these urban heat strategies and the tree canopy reassessments and adding tree canopy to those areas, that we're striving towards that goal of meeting those trees designations again, and trying to work with the Arbor Day Foundation to become Tree City USA. We were Tree City USA for 30 years. And then now we haven't been able to get those designations because we hadn't had staff dedicated to working on that. So that's one of the things, is really coming back to that identity of, well, we are a Tree City USA. We should be a Tree City USA. And we need to do more to build the canopy in those areas that are sub 15%. The average tree canopy in an urban area should be 35, and the city of Boynton Beach's average is 20. So we're a little behind where we need to be, but that's why we're working on a tree canopy reassessment, working on an urban heat strategy, and seeing how we can kind of marry the development with tree canopy, and also trying to build canopy for some of those residents that maybe live in those lower canopy areas, because trees are very important to this community. We have a group of people that actually are very passionate about our butterfly gardens and pollinators. So trying to just build to that while accepting the fact that Boynton Beach is growing. And we have a lot of new development that inevitably will be coming in. That's the state of Florida and how it is right now, unfortunately. So we have to find that balance to maintain resilience for the future.
Yeah, and just to the point of tree canopies, I mean, you and I kind of live in this world, but not everybody does. So a tree canopy, the idea is that a tree canopy is like a shade canopy, and it's about heat resilience. And it's about the fact that the temperature of the sidewalk and the space that you're in below a tree canopy is literally, could be like 20, 30 degrees less, and cools off everything than it is if there's no trees around. Do you want to add another, like, you probably have some good statistics about this, that just to give people a sense of why tree canopies really matter, and the fact that it's gone down from 35 to 20 and then it needs to go back up to protect and build heat resilience?
Yeah, there are so many great benefits. I don't have specific numbers on hand, but I know that there have been a lot of studies done that show that areas that have lost tree canopy, just built up asphalt jungle type of stuff, and then they've gone back and added trees later, um, have really improved the feels like temperature of the community. Trees also have an added benefit of flood resilience because they take up a lot of the water. So it, for us, is kind of a twofold approach. We have flooding issues. We're actually one of the lowest elevations in Palm Beach County, especially along our intracoastal waterway. So we're trying to find ways to build flood resilience and build our tree canopy in those areas. And sometimes it's challenging because we do have underground utilities that we have to be mindful of. But we also want to make sure that we are encouraging shade trees. And a lot of people think that palm trees are it. Palm trees are not it. They provide minimal to no shade value. They're technically not even a tree. So, they're very Florida, very decorative, but at the end of the day, it's not what we're looking for. We're looking for a lot of the Florida natives or Florida friendlies that have this really beautiful, flowering trees, shaded canopy that really provide that benefit of cooling, especially in those areas that are, not covered. Anecdotally, I can just tell you, I went to the city of Charlotte back in 2024. They're the Queen City. They have a ton of trees everywhere. And you could walk through so many areas of Charlotte and you did not feel like you were in a city because it was so cool, comparatively to, like Los Angeles or New York or even, Boston, that don't have as much shaded areas as you're walking down the street, and it feels hot. Like it feels like you're baking almost. So the trees really do make an impact, and it's again about finding that balance of having that development, having, we have underground utilities that could be costly if they get damaged because of tree roots. So we have to be very selective about what we are installing in our infrastructure to make sure that we're maximizing our efficiency from not having to spend a bunch of money on capital improvement. So it's a hard balance.
And you bring up an incredibly important point that the work you do is complex. It's it involves all the systems coming together because even though we don't see them, there's a whole world underneath that asphalt, right? And underneath that tree growth that is the operational infrastructure of whether it's energy or it's water or it's sewage or fiber or whatever else is underneath that we don't know is all part of the system. So, you know, all the little things that we each do that improve the system matter. And the larger scale planning that you guys are doing that is
Yep.
years out and years of building and creating something that is really hidden. Like that's why we're here, because we want to talk about these stories. So and get people to understand that residents and team members and the community to really understand all that's going on behind the scenes to make the city of Boynton Beach a really beautifully livable place to be, and joyful place to be. So give us an example of something that you're working on now that's heading towards the future that people don't know about that is going to change the quality of life, or at least keep the quality of life stable, which is really important.
Yeah, so that keyword you hit it is planning, planning, and more planning. So we're currently working on an adaptation plan that's basically going to take existing projects of the city and prioritize them based on those vulnerabilities we talked about earlier, and prioritize them in a way that shows that we're maximizing our resilience potential in the city. Um, and then it'll help us provide a roadmap for future projects. And I think that's really most critical because it's not only applicable to our utilities department, but it's transferable across our public works and recreation and parks and police department, fire, all these different departments that rely on being able to survive for their operations. Like if we're not planning right and we have a category 5 hurricane come in and we didn't prepare for it through our capital improvement program, our roadways are going to be unable to drive. Our utilities can't take in the rainwater, so the roads are going to be flooded, and then the public, first responders can't get to where they need to get. So planning is that number one component, and this adaptation plan is going to really help us take our adaptation and our resiliency program to the next level because we can finally put all the data into action. Same thing with the heat resilient strategy. We have the low tree canopy that I talked about, but it's so much more than just adding trees. I mean, adding trees are going to be a big component of this strategy, but it's also finding out what the residents want, from splash pads to cooling centers to different other programs or shade structures, putting shaded structures over playgrounds, things that get really hot in the summer and you can't use them. So we're trying to hear the residents' voices to build that sort of adaptive measures, because I mean we're always going to be constructing things, and it's not going to be getting cooler as far as we're aware of right now. So it's really important that we're thinking of these things, and if we can put something there that makes it 5-10 degrees cooler while people are enjoying the park, then let's go ahead and do that. Or if it gets so hot to the point where our most vulnerable populations can't stay home, they have a place to go that the city could potentially operate, that gives them programming, gives them movies or games or whatever the residents would potentially want. So these are two very important projects that we're working on. And it is a lot of planning, but we're trying to plan to make an actionable roadmap to improve resilience for the future.
Yeah, and again, it's behind the scenes, like,
Yep.
but and we want to bring that forward. And it's about the city of Boynton Beach being a place where people thrive in all the different parts of their life. It's not a place where people come into work and then leave. It's a community where people play, live, work, learn. It's all those aspects of life that are part of this planning.
Yep.
And it's complicated and it all has to fit together. So I'm just imagining the canopies over the playgrounds so that
Mhm.
multi-generational community can get together. So wrap us up. Like where are you going with what do we need residents and teams and community and all the people who live, work, play, learn, thrive in Boynton Beach? What do they need to
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah, well, the one thing, the only constant in life is change. We know that things are changing, whether it be climatologically speaking or as simple as building new multifamily buildings, having new businesses come in, people moving in and out of Florida, the makeup of how our state runs and operates constantly changing. And it's a lot of things that we don't have control over. So we have to be ready for that change. And I'm not saying to go to catastrophically think of worst case scenario, prepare for the apocalypse type stuff, but we want to be prepared for that category 5 storm that's going to come in. We want to be prepared for that rain event. If you take Hurricane Helene, for example, last year, that dropped unprecedented amounts of rain into the Appalachia region of the Carolinas. They were not prepared. They didn't do water management measures in the way that they needed to. And, it turned into a catastrophic event. So we need to be ready for something. And
For
we
the
need
unexpected. Because
Right. Yeah.
nothing is
Expect the
unexpected
unexpected.
anymore, right?
Yeah.
Like, isn't that kind of the key? Like, you can't write anything off as
Mm-hmm.
this is the 100-year, this is the 1,000-year thing. It
Yeah.
doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah. And we get a lot that, oh, well, it's not happening to me, so I don't care. And it's about your families. It's about your kids and your grandkids. It's about people that are going to come after us. Because a lot of the measures that my team is putting into place, I probably won't be here when we're able to fully implement them in 50 plus years or so. So it's bigger than us. And I think that's really, the message that we need to be prepared for the unexpected, but we also need to think about that this is a bigger situation than just what we're experiencing right now. And we just need to be ready and do what you can to prepare, support your communities, build that resilience for yourself and for your city. So that way, when push comes to shove, we'll be able to bounce back, not only just bounce back, but bounce back better from a natural disaster.
Right. And every day to be better.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's cooler and shadier and you're drinking clean water, not worrying about salt water, and your insurance rates are going down, not up. I know that there's been some great progress on that. Like, that life is better every day in Boynton Beach because of you. So thank you so much. And we're so looking forward to bringing stories forward. I mean, this was an introduction, and our plan is to share some of the beautiful initiatives that have happened and are in process, and to really give you a sense of why they matter. So thank you for being here with us for Florida Climate Week. Last words of wisdom, Alana?
Yeah. Thank you. I'm so excited for this opportunity to showcase what we're doing, and ready to keep up the great work. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.